What's up, Pokemon players? Pokemonger back with another online deck profile, and today I got a really fun one for you. It's my Charizard GX Rhyperior Mill deck. So the strategy is to just discard all of our opponent's cards and deck them out and win the game that way. So Stage 2 Rhyperior here is the main Pokemon of this deck with the Toppling Wind ability. When you evolve this Pokemon from your hand, you get to discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and that can be used multiple times per game. So we do play a 4-3-4 line of Rhyperior, 4 rare candies to help get into it faster, and then 4 devolution sprays to devolve Rhyperior and re-evolve into Rhyperior, and just use the Toppling Wind ability multiple times per game and discard a ton of cards that way. So very cool. We also play a 2-1-2 Charizard GX line for this Raging Out GX attack. 1 fire and a double colorless, and you get to discard the top 10 cards of your opponent's deck. So a very strong mill attack, goes very well in this deck. I used to play a 4-4-4 Rhyperior line, but I did drop 1 Rhydon for this Houndoom EX. For a fire energy, you can Melting Horn, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. So pretty good in a deck like this. You gotta be careful though, because it is relatively easy to knock out and it is worth 2 prizes. So if you're not careful, it can just help your opponent accelerate their win. It can be more of a liability in that sense, so unless you're sure you can use Melting Horn 2 or 3 or more times in a game, pretty much, don't use this, or just wait till the end of a game, drop it on the bench, and get the last 2 cards with it. I have seen a lot of success with the Houndoom in here, so I do keep it in here for that reason. And then I have a couple of stall tactic Pokemon in here. Hoopa from Shining Legends has the Safeguard ability, cannot be attacked by EXs or GXs, so I just send this out in the active spot and sort of force my opponent to play around it, as most decks out there do use EX and GX Pokemon as the main attackers. So very good. Send this out front and evolve Rhyperiors and set up Charizard in the back on your bench. Going along with that, another stall tactic Pokemon here is the Spiritomb with the Cursed Whirlpool ability. As long as this is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon cannot retreat. So you can sort of Guzma up something worthless that you know won't be able to attack you, like a Rangaroo, for example, and just sit Spiritomb in the active with an Rangaroo and force your opponent to sort of try to get out of, find a Guzma to get out of the active spot, or a switch. This can buy you multiple turns while your opponent tries to figure out how to retreat their Pokemon. And you just stall them out for multiple turns while you evolve into Rhyperior and set up your Charizard on the bench. So very good. Couple of Lele in here to get out the supporters we need throughout the game. 4 devolution sprays, as I was talking about, to re-evolve into Rhyperior multiple times. 2 heavy balls, Rhyhorn, Rhydon, and Rhyperior all have 3 or more energy retreat costs, so you can search any of them with this. So very nice. 1 nest ball. Typically you won't get everything you need with Bridget, so this is pretty good to find mid-game. Get whatever basic you need, maybe one of your stall tactic Pokemon or something that you're gonna need to set up eventually. 4 rare candies. If you evolve into Rhyperior with rare candy, you still get to use the ability, so pretty nice. You can also just evolve straight into Charizard GX with that rare candy, so pretty good. 2 rescue stretchers to get back the Pokemon you need as they get knocked out throughout a game. 4 Ultra Ball, get whatever whatever Pokemon you need. 2 Bridgets to help set up your game on the first turn. 2 Guzma to help bring something up in the active and stall your opponent that way. 4-4 In and Sycamore, pretty standard draw supporter count there. 2 Float Stones for the free retreat. These are typically going to go on Rhyperior. The Rhyperior line that's a pretty heavy energy retreat line. And then a 4-4 double colorless energy and basic fire energy count. That's pretty good. I wouldn't go lower than 4-4, otherwise you're sort of losing consistency on being able to set up Raging Out GX. You might have a little wiggle room there. You can maybe drop that to a 3-3 line. That's probably where your wiggle room is, but I find 4-4 is pretty much perfect. Also, if you consider most Pokemon in this deck have a 2 energy retreat cost, this sort of acts as a backup retreat option, so pretty good. That's basically the deck. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment and I'll get back to you right away. Otherwise, enjoy the match. Okay, so let's get into a match here. Looks like I start Lele, which is pretty unfortunate. But this does end up being a pretty good match. That's why I include it. I do top deck DCE, so I go ahead and attach that to Lele for either an attack option or probably just a retreat. Do find a Rhyhorn off that, and I go ahead and pass my turn. So not a lot accomplished on that first turn, unfortunately. We'll see what my opponent does here, and they just end right away, so they had a dead hand as well for their starting hand. So this game starts out pretty slow, it looks like. I promise it gets better. Do find another Rhyhorn, and my opponent benches Zorua, so this is right around when I recorded this. I think it was right around the time that Shining Legends was released, so I'm pretty sure that'll end up being a GX. I don't know. They will be able to, if he does evolve it into this stage 1 just regular Zoroark, it will be able to get through my Hoopa, and it will be able to stand in to get around my Spiritomb. So looks like I go ahead and bench that Rhyhorn, Ultra Ball, a couple things I don't need right now for Lele, and with Lele I do go ahead and grab a Bridget for a couple more basics. Probably Charmander yet, because I have that DCE in my hand. So I'll go ahead and start setting up a Charmander. Yep, looks like I actually do pull out a Hoopa here. I was probably confident that, you know, that Zorua would end up being a GX. So I'd be able to stall with Hoopa. At the moment I am stalling against this Lele with my Hoopa. And I do have the end for next turn. Get a new hand. My opponent Ultra Balls, Grass Energy, and the Zoroark that would be able to get through my Hoopa. So he's probably playing multiple of those, or he has like a stretch or something to get it back when he needs it. He does go ahead and get a Lele for Bridget, so we both we both Bridget on turn 2, so very slow start to this game. With Bridget, he's gonna grab a Golisopod, another Zorua, and a Coco. So our Rhyperiors are weak to Golisopod. We do have grass weakness, so that'll be able to one-shot us anytime he Guzmas. Oh, and he did have Rescue Stretcher in hand to just get back that Zoroark. He did not have energy to attack with it yet though, so he's just going to keep it on his bench. I go ahead, attach Fire Energy to Charmander, and attach Floatstone to Hoopa. And I can go for Charizard GX here. Okay, I do go for the Charizard GX here, so I'm going to get a Raging Out attack on turn 3. That's actually a little bit earlier than I normally get it. I usually use that towards the end of a game. I'd say more often I kind of use that as, you know, a way to finish off a game. But this time it looks like I use it pretty early on, which is good because then I'm discarding a lot of good stuff that my, you know, opponent potentially needed because they're not set up yet. So we'll see what happens. I did have to end my opponent into a whole new hand. I'm pretty sure he was down to 1 card too before that end. He does evolve into Golisopod, which is scary. And he attaches Grass Energy, so if he has a Guzma, he could take out my Lele for 2 prizes, but he doesn't. just elects to hit my Charizard for 100 damage with his Lele. I do top deck an in right there, which is pretty good. So go ahead and play that. And I do find a heavy ball for a Rhyperior. Since I do have that rare candy, then go ahead and evolve into that. And discard 3 more cards from my opponent's deck. And I do have the devolution spray as well, so I can devolve it and get ready to evolve it next turn potentially. I attach DCE to Lele as a potential attacker maybe, or just for a future retreat. One thing worth noting is every once in a blue moon I'll find myself in a weird position where I can charge up that Crimson Dive attack that Charizard GX has. Hits for 300 and I can knock out pretty much anything I want with it. And I do actually use that from time to time to knock out an opponent's Pokemon and put my opponent in a weird position sometimes, but that's just worth noting. Typically typically that does not happen. My opponent goes for the Ultra Ball for another Zoroark, I think that's what he did. And he gets a Choice Band, so he will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All he needs is an energy, and he can actually knock out my Charizard GX with an energy drive, and he does find it, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna knock out my Charizard GX here with just Lele. Gets a couple float stones onto his Zoroarks, and I go ahead and promote my Hoopa. Probably. I'm either gonna promote Hoopa or Lele. Maybe Lele. Okay, what am I gonna do? Okay, I do promote Hoopa. Gonna force my opponent to find an energy for Zoroark in order to be able to take me out. So I'm just sort of counting what's left in my opponent's deck. Go for the Sycamore and bench another Rhyhorn line to eventually get into some Rhyperiors. And I'm gonna Ultra Ball Charizard and Fire Energy. I don't need those anymore. Go ahead and grab another Rhydon to evolve and pass the turn onto my opponent. My opponent has 3 Guzma in the discard already, it looks like. And 2 DCEs in the discard and 1 on his active. So he only has probably 1 DCE and 1 Guzma left, which means I will be able to stall soon. That's okay, so he plays Guzma. That's going to be his last Guzma. He's going to knock this out with a 1 hit with First Impression. And that's all 4 of his Guzma right there, as you can see. So I go ahead and promote my Hoopa. I'm gonna mill 3 more cards here, really looking for that last DCE. Did not get it, it looks like. I do go ahead and discard my Rhyperior. Pretty sure I still have 2 rescue stretchers I have not used. And I get a rare candy for another Rhyperior. It's going to be 3 more cards, and there I got that last DCE. So he is going to have to manually attach twice to Zoroark in order to knock out this active Hoopa. He cannot Guzma around it at this point. Looks like I attached DCE to Hoopa as a retreat option in the future. And I bench. I assume I'm going to bench that last Rhyhorn. I'm just sort of looking at what I have left, I guess. Probably pass a turn there, yep. My opponent is down to his last 3 cards at this point. 1 in. I mean 3 in. I saw 3 ins there. So he might have 1 in left, I'm not sure. I think I just saw 3 in his discard pile. So we'll have to in here, otherwise he loses. He manually attaches, and I do have those rescue stretchers in my deck, I'm pretty sure, so I can just go ahead and probably, let's see, what am I doing? Oh, I just passed. I think I could have just Sycamored for rescue stretcher there. Probably could have done that, but I might not have been aware of the fact that I still had rescue stretchers in my deck, so he is going to get another manual attachment on that Zoroark to be able to take out my Safeguard Koopa. I promote Rhyperior. I'm going to use Ultra Ball to discard a couple cards I don't need right now, go see what's left in my deck. And yep, as you saw there, I did have 2 rescue stretchers, so I'm aware of it now for sure. Go ahead and Sycamore into the rest of my deck, and I can just put a Rhyperior back into my hand from my discard pile. And that's a pretty good game. Evolve into that, get the last couple cards off of his deck, and I was able to deck him out. So very good. We both ended up with 0 cards in the deck, but I was able to pass the turn first. And that was a good win against a top tier deck with my Rhyperior deck. And I do have a lot of really good matches recorded with this deck, so if you want to see more, let me know and I can post more. I have beat all the top tier decks with this deck. It's surprisingly strong for a standard mill deck, and it is a lot of fun. So let me know what you think, leave a comment, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.